Hi, I'm Margaret, and welcome to Garden School. It's been a little over a month since I packed up my dahlia tubers, and I thought I should probably check on them and see if they're too dry or if they've been in too moist of a situation and make some changes. So let's go and do that today. When I packed up the tubers, I used the materials that I had. I had some vermiculite, and so I laid them in this tubs and packed them over or covered them over with vermiculite. But I also had some cedar shavings, and I used that too to put the tubers in and then cover with the cedar shavings. But I ran out of that, and then I just used like loosely packed newspaper in a bin. And I have kept them in my garage. And let's check the temperature right now here in the garage. Right now, what do we see? It's just under 50 Fahrenheit. Where are we? There we go. Just under 50 Fahrenheit. Well, I'm sure it did get a bit colder in here, but I would say it's between 40 and 50 in the garage here. Now, why don't we take a look at the tubers? Okay, so here in the vermiculite, let's unearth these. Kind of a cool thing. Okay, so we've got a little, maybe a tiny bit of shrinkage on these real thin ones here, but these are still nice and firm, and they are not, there's really no indication of any mold or too much moisture on that clump right there. I'll pull out another one and take a look. Yeah, that's pretty good. This one, I can feel a little bit of softness on that one. I might just take that off right now before I repack. The other ones do look a little bit shrivelly, but I would say not too bad. I think those are going to be okay. Let's check another one here. Oh yeah, here's another one, in pretty good shape here. Good. Well, I would say that these, in general, of course, I'll check the other bins where I've stored in vermiculite and see how they are. And if I find something that's questionable, that's a little bit too soft, like this one, very soft, and you can see there was a cut, a damage on that part right there when it got packed. I'm going to snip that off and discard it. Now I did discover that some of these are quite shrivelly. That one's really shriveled. Here's another one that's got some really shriveled ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a light mist of water on these. I'll show you what I'm going to do here. So I've got my water bottle. I've got them laying here on the top of the vermiculite, and I'm just going to do a very light spray, but I'm not going to cover them up until that has, until I'm sure that they're not going to be too wet in here. I don't want that to happen. So just a few minutes, probably going to take care of it, but that'll add a little bit of moisture, hopefully to save some of those that were small to start off with and are shriveling a little bit. This is a box that has cedar shavings, and the dahlia tubers are packed in them. Now, you'll see that there is quite a bit of shriveling on these, also on that, but the material, there's no evidence of any extra moisture in here, but they are on the drier side. So I'll do the same thing with this box. I'll just uncover all the clumps, lay them on top, and then just do a light mist of water. Now the bin with the crumpled up newspaper. Let's take a look and see what we've got. Yeah, we do see some shriveling here. They're definitely not too wet. There's no signs of any mold or any problems like that, but they're not too bad as far as the shrinkage. That's very interesting. So these, you know what? Since I'm doing it with the others, and there are a few that are showing some shrinkage, I'll just spritz that a tiny bit. Then I will make sure that the situation is dry enough before I cover them back up and put them back in to store for another month or so. Now I did uncover one tuber cluster that has some very interesting colored mold on it. So that one I'm going to cut off and watch the other, or take a look at the other ones very closely, because I'm not going to let that remain in the bin with the others. Well, I had forgotten that I had used some shredded paper to pack a couple of boxes of these. And this is how these look. They're not in too bad of shape. So I'll give a little light spritz into them, and then make sure that the paper and stuff is dry before I store them back up on the shelves. So this is the amount of tubers that I snipped off and pulled off that had some signs of mold or damage. And this is the rest. So I think so far this is pretty good. Now I will say that some materials for storage have worked better in keeping the moisture in the tuber. I will say that the cedar shavings seem to have drawn a lot of moisture out of the tubers, and I will have to watch those to make sure that they will retain enough moisture so that they're viable in the spring. The vermiculite seemed to be okay, but still I needed to add a little bit of water in those. And the paper, shredded paper, seemed to be similar. And then just crumpling paper around them also seemed to be pretty good. And there's probably some variance based on the variety as well, I would. Well, I've done my 1 month storage check on the dahlias. It is almost the beginning of January, and Happy New Year to you. So I think around the 1st of February, I'm going to do another check and just see how these things are going. And you know, if we happen to lose many of them or even all of them, it's really not a terrible thing. You can always get more, and then you can get varieties that you haven't tried yet or that you've seen somewhere and enjoy those. Well, something to do here in the middle of the winter. Check on your dahlia tubers and see how they're stored. Now, I did watch a very interesting YouTube that's going to cause me to perhaps change how I store next year. After digging in the fall, this person just knocked the dirt off. She did not wash the tubers. She cut the stems back to about 5 or 6 inches so she could still hold on to the clumps. And then she just piled them in cardboard boxes, left the boxes open, and stacked them in she had a warm basement. It was 55 to 60 degrees. Well, my garage has been pretty good, so I might contemplate that, just not going through the hassle of using that packing medium. Well, we'll see. And you know, every year is different with a different kind of weather, and we just kind of have to go with what comes to us. Well, I hope that you can have fun checking out your dahlias. If you find anything that's squishy and soft, I would pitch that right now. If you find something that needs a little more moisture, go ahead and apply that. And look forward to the time when we get to plant these and then enjoy them. That's going to come up. Well, there's always more to learn in the garden. Bye-bye.